the carrying cost of inventory. I'd like to try and reconcile the accounting point of view, which says that it doesn't cost much to have inventory, with the lean practitioner's point of view that says that basically the carrying cost of inventory is nearly infinite. Okay, so what's going on? The carrying cost of inventory is an estimate of how much it costs financially to have inventory in one's factory, and it's often calculated as a percentage. That's to say, if I have a part that is worth $100 and I keep it for a year, I could claim, for instance, that the carrying cost of inventory is 5%. That's to say, it costs me $5 every year to have that inventory in my factory. Okay, that cost is traditionally the sum of financial costs and storage costs. Okay, financial is I've invested $100 in that part. That means that that's $100 I've even had to borrow in a bank or whatever. That's a financial impact. And the storage is that, well, I had to store it, I had to insure it, I had to count it and do the inventory, I had to have a manager to manage it and stuff. So I've got salary costs and stuff. It's how much the ownership of it in material and in a logistics sense costs. Okay, that's the way you do it, and you end up with numbers that are sort of the order of magnitude of 5%. Right? I repeat, if I have I don't know $100,000 of inventory, okay, it will cost me $5,000 a year to own that. So, what's going on? Well, I think those numbers that I've just mentioned are correct, and yes, they are not very important, but they're only a very small part of the equation, in fact. The other one, which lean practitioners will understand very well, is a number, not a number you can estimate precisely, but it's important to try and work out these figures exist and have an order of magnitude of how much they might cost, which is the impact of carrying inventory on quality and improving one's quality. Right. The problem is that if you have a lot of inventory between your machines, right, and then on a machine you find a defect. That defect was produced by the machine just in front of before you. There probably will have been the defect will have been created a day, a week, or maybe a month before, right? And you have very little opportunity to find what the problem was, solve it, and avoid that problem reoccurring. Whereas if you're in one-piece flow or very little inventory, you could maybe find that defect still being produced and find what the cause was, eliminate it, and improve your quality. Okay, so that's very important. Hard to estimate, but it's a very important point. Okay. The other one, which I'd like to insist on, which I think is not recognized enough, is the inertia linked with inventory. Okay, because I think this is in many industries already the predominant, the most important element in the carrying cost of inventory, and it's increasing year by year as we get into a world that is more and more VUCA. Forecasts are getting harder and harder to do. Everything's moving faster and faster, and all that stuff. Okay. Why is that? Well, I remind you, the more inventory you have, the longer your lead times are, right? If I double the amount of inventory I have in my factory, that doubles the lead times on average of my production process. Okay, so let's imagine I have a 3-month production process, and I'm in a business where I have to work. I work on forecasts. I'm going to depend on the sales forecast for the next 3 months to decide what I make, right? If I could reduce my inventory, reduce my lead times, and only have 1 month. Then I only need 1 month of forecasts, and I will be able to stick to demand much better. When it goes up, sell more. When it goes down, quickly react and have fewer obsolescent stocks and stuff, right? And in many industries, that's become one of the predominant ones. Okay, so think about that one because it's important. That last one, by the way, what's important to note is it's probably linked to the industry average. That's to say, if you have twice as much inventory as your competitors, you are the slowest in your business, you're always trying to play catch up, right? And the carrying costs are huge in many ways, right? You're always by the meetings, by the stuff you don't sell, by the stuff you don't know how to sell because you shouldn't have made it, all that stuff. It's costing you a fortune. Okay, so that if you do all this, you won't get a precise number, right? It won't be 442. But it'll give you numbers that are the right order of magnitude, and it will reconcile you between the accounting point of view and the lean. So it's not costing you 5% or $5 a year. It's not costing you probably $50 a year. It might be costing you 500%. That's to say, if I keep something of $100 for a year, it's going to cost me $500 because of all these things I've said. Okay, and if that sounds crazy, it isn't really, because if that was not true, Toyota would have gone bankrupt a long time ago, right? They're spending time and money getting less and less inventory. If they weren't on the right path, they would have gone bankrupt, right? This is not the case. So they're right. The carrying cost, the weight of inventory in the real world is much, 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 much bigger than you think. So watch out. I hope this helped. Thank you.